Everyone, welcome to our first class, and hopefully we're going to enjoy this class. Let's first figure out what is the objective of this class. Let's discuss this. The objective of this class is to train developers so that they can develop APIs by integrating artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain. And these APIs will run on cloud infrastructure. This is the latest state-of-the-art technology which we are going to use. For this class, we are going to use AWS as our main cloud provider. And for AI, we are going to use TensorFlow. For the language, programming language, we are going to use TypeScript as well as Python, and in some cases for IoT, Rust. Let me first introduce my co-teachers. The first co-teacher is my brother and friend, Anis. He is coming from AI background, and he will assist me in the AI thing. We have another person. He has more. First of all, let me introduce Anis. Why don't you introduce yourself? Give your background.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. I'm an AI student. Actually, I started AI in 2016 with Sir Zia, and since 2016, I'm working with Sir Zia in different sort of AI-related things, especially deep learning, neural network, and computer vision, etc., etc. By profession, I'm a data engineer, a database expert, as well as I'm also very much involved in my AI data processing pipeline. So that's it.
Anis bhai, you did not mention here that you have more than 10 years of experience.
Thank you, sir, for reminding me. Actually, it is right that since last 10 or more years, I'm working on a databases, big data, and different sort of extraction, information, transformation, and a lot of process professionally in a software company.
Thank you so much. Shah Rukh is one of the IoT experts in our team. He has extensive experience in IoT. He will give his background, Shah Rukh.
Assalamu alaikum. So my name is Shah Rukh, and by qualification, I am an electronic engineer, and I have done my master in electronics from UK. Apart from that, I'm working since 2009 in the area of electronics and embedded system. Along with it, I am also engaged in iOS development. So I'm linking iOS development with IoT as the world is emerging. So I am working in interconnection with iOS and IoT with a cloud system.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, let me introduce myself. It is difficult to classify myself. I'm a more or less journalist. I started off my career as in financial field. I was basically did a MA Economics and Institute of Cost and Management Accounting. I was a student there, and then went to Arizona State University in Tempe, Phoenix, near Phoenix. And Arizona State University, we also call ourselves Sun Devils. And then I did a triple master's in engineering, business, and accounting. Then I also did my CPA, which is Chartered Accountancy in USA, and Certified Management Accountant. Then I went to, in 92 December, I went to Silicon Valley, started my small company with my friends. And till 99, I was in Silicon Valley trying to learn the ropes. Then I came back to Pakistan in 99, and from that point onwards, we were trying to basically help everyone, start a movement so that IT becomes one of the major earning points for Pakistan. And I think Information technology has the power to transform Pakistan and make it a developed country. Right now, we are a underdeveloped country, but hopefully, with information technology in other areas, we will be able to transform ourselves. Now, this is the objective of this boot camp. We are going to interact with each other extensively as we go forward. What we are going to do is basically, let me see if I can share my screen. I think all of you can see my screen now. And the purpose, let's get started first of all with the topic of today's class, which is the API economy. Now, I know what happens is that there are buzzwords in the industry which generally people understand. For example, if I say I'm teaching an AI class, it is much easier to attract students in an AI class as compared to the API class. But we have to understand that APIs are an all-encompassing technology. Now think about it. How do we consume information technology? A layman, for example, a person in your company, how will he consume IT? Normally, he will consume IT by using an application. It might be a Windows application, or a Mac application, or a web application, or a mobile application, or Android or iOS. But what we are talking about is a new kind of customer who is a developer, not an end customer, not a company, not an end user. What are APIs? And APIs, application programming interfaces, are basically your customer is your developer. So therefore, these developers are basically consuming each other APIs and selling and buying them. Up to this point, APIs have been around for 30, 40 years. There's nothing new about it. But what is new is, we'll learn in these slides that companies have started selling these APIs as products. Now, most people don't understand it because think of it as different companies are emerging recently who are basically not selling applications, not a mobile application. What they are selling is APIs to other developers. Uber, for example, most of the Uber app is built by using other APIs. And because the application development has become so complex that it is not easy to develop your own API for everything. Previously, what used to happen, 20 years back, if you told me that we are going to form a company in which we are going to sell APIs to other developers, I would have laughed. Not possible. But it has changed in the last few years. Right now, the more successful companies are which develop API first. Now let's go, because right now I'm assuming that you don't understand it, what I'm saying. But when we go step by step, and this API economy, which people are going to buy and sell, is going to be $1 trillion business in the next few years. Now, at this stage, most people do not understand it. When I started research, as soon as COVID started, I myself and his wife did not know this. That what is, if you had asked me about a year back, what is the API economy, I would never have been able to answer the question. But in this COVID-19 thing, what has happened is the cloud has taken off and the applications have become so complex that you cannot develop all the application, the complete application for a small company or even medium companies, the complete application you cannot develop. Even companies like Uber are basically using APIs. Now, we'll go by step by step. The first thing is, what is the API? what we are going to do is, my method of teaching is, first I'm going to cover a slide. Then, we are not worried about time. We are on Zoom. We are paid for their services, and we are not worried about. Our target market, Shah Rukh and Anis, is people who are extremely passionate about this thing. People who get tired, we are not interested in them. Because I'm 60, I don't get tired. And I know these guys never get tired, these students never get tired when they are watching films. In my day, they used to, because VCR was scarce, we used to watch 6 films in a row. So therefore, the assumption is that they are going to take 6 hours of class without any problem. But we are, of course, the thing is, I am single. It is Saturday night. Anis bhai and Shah Rukh bhai are married. They might get thrown out of the house, but that is the cost of being a teacher.
Sir, thank you very much. Just to disturb you once, first of all, could you please change the presentation mode so everyone could see the presentation very clearly on the screen?
Okay.
Present. Okay, and yeah, yeah, this one.
Yes.
That's great. So people could see it very good. Sorry to disturb you, sir.
No problem. Now, the first thing is, it's saying an API is a software intermediary for an application or a service that enables other applications or services to send them requests and receive response to those requests. So therefore, API is basically talking between 2 programs. One program sends a request, the other program sends a response. And all these APIs is nothing but a way of talking. It's a 30-year-old technology. Of course, the technology has changed. Right now we have REST and GraphQL and other methods, but the concept is quite old. What it does, it allows different systems to talk to each other seamlessly. This gives developers certainty when integrating systems, and also enable large monolithic systems to broken down into smaller independent services with defined interfaces. Now, this is very important. API allow you to talk to each other. The second thing is, the new way of developing applications is through microservices. And these APIs also allow you to develop systems in using microservices. Therefore, it's a perfect match for the new world, for the new cloud world. You will hear this word a lot, that digital transformation, APIs help in digital transformation. Now, the question is, what is digital transformation? But before we go into it, I think, because I'm just getting started, Anis, would you like to, or Shah Rukh, would you like to say anything about APIs?
Sir, yeah, I will discuss I'll discuss with these students regarding the API, specifically from, I could say, AI perspective. For the AI infrastructure or the AI services, and the inference way, I mean how AI start providing its services, or in technically we say it's a prediction or other sort of things like training, etc., etc. We definitely need a large set of API. For example, if we need to develop a solution, I believe that it should be even it's an AI application, it should be start from the API approach first. Otherwise, we are not able to connect our AI-based application with other application like websites, like mobile application, this type of things. So as an AI student or trainer, I believe that even the AI application should start from an AI first approach.
Okay, as far as I would like to add, because we are talking about AI APIs, and so APIs are mostly commonly found in IoT, because in the world of IoT, everything is interconnected. So to connect the hardware and to make the thing easier to use by anybody, API will be playing a very vital role. So this will help to integrate the hardware to the system, to the world, to the economy, whatever the thing, because IoT is the biggest digital economy which we'll be seeing in the future, because now as the human are interconnected to each other. Now hardware has to be connected to the world. So anybody, anywhere can be accessing their hardware, whatever they want to control. So API will be playing a wider role to connect two machines. The machine which is placing the offices or in the home, and the machine at the server or the cloud, which will be controlling whatever the thing going on.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, whenever you talk about different companies existing, there are two kinds of companies. One are the startups, the other one are old companies, enterprises. For example, Habib Bank, United Bank. These are basically traditional companies which have been running out for the last 30, 40 years, 50 years, 100 years. What these companies right now want is to digitally transform themselves. Most of the startups are already digitally transformed when they started off startup. Now, this digital transformation is the integration of digital technology into all areas of a business, fundamentally changing how you operate and deliver value to customers. It is also a cultural change that requires organization to continuously challenge the status quo, experiment, and comfortable with failure. Now, there are two aspects to it. If you want to basically change your business and bring it into the 21st century, into the digital age, what you have to do is that you have to basically change the way you do business. And the second thing is, you just don't invest in IT, but you also change the culture of doing experiments, because without this cultural change, digital transformation is not going to happen. Now, this API is a key to digital transformation. If United Bank wants to become a digital company, a 21st century company, it will have to adopt the API first philosophy, which is basically a key to digital transformation. The ability to innovate at unprecedented rate is the key to succeeding in today's fast-paced digital world. You will continuously want to change. If all the different modules are not connected with well-defined APIs, how are you going to continuously change and adopt and innovate? Therefore, API is the key. The first thing you should do is transform all the systems you are using in a company and have a well-defined API for each service, which we also call basically, I was just forgetting the name. For example, you are saying AI as a service. For example, you are saying payment as a service. So therefore, if your department is doing payment, the first thing you do is convert it into a service, which basically means convert it into an API. There's a second point. In recent years, many businesses have realized APIs that set clearly defined methods of communication among various software components are an effective way to enable digital transformation of their enterprise. Therefore, this is critical. Now, API role in digital transformation. Companies are finding it critical to have digital first strategy. We can offer products and services through omni-channel approach. Now, what is this omni-channel? Let's bring some students in, Anish bhai, so that everybody can participate. Any one of the students can unmute their mic and tell us what is omni-channel. Can anybody tell us what is omni-channel?
Sir, I think it's single channel.
Tariq, what do you say? What did you say?
Single channel.
Single channel?
One stop. Yeah.
Companies applying all sorts of multiple channels to sell their products or engage with their customers, whether online or on premises or through vans or whatever mode is possible or channel is possible. Companies would like to engage with their customers. This is what they call omni-channel. Omni means everywhere. So they want to be connected with their customers in every way possible.
Perfect, Mashallah. Faisal, you are very, Mashallah, you are a very intelligent student.
Yes, sir. So,
And
I want to add one thing in omni-channel. Actually, sometimes it's look a contradictive because the omni, people think that omni means a single or a central channel, but actually here omni-channel trying to reflect the main idea is that there is a central channel which could be different approach and different things, but would be able to connect each other using the API thing. This is my understanding regarding the omni-channel.
yes, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a company called Daraz. Or let's say, we'll go even forward. Let's take an international example. There is a company, Amazon. Amazon has an online store. You can buy stuff from there. Let's assume that I bought a TV from Amazon online store. As soon as I got home, I found the TV, something wrong with the TV. What I want to do is, if Amazon has an outlet, a physical repair outlet next to my home, I don't want to go to retail and then ship them the product. That's how I work. What I'll do is, I take the TV, put it in my car, and drive to their basically repair shop and give them the TV, please change it or correct it, correct my problem. Now, usually, if the company is not omni-channel taking approach, they don't have any information because they say you bought it online, sir, you cannot come to a retail outlet and ask us. But it is the omni-channel approach. They will have the data. They'll look at my receipt or whatever information they have, or my credit card number or whatever, and search it as a customer number, and they can deal with me in any way possible. As Faisal has mentioned, omni-channel is a multi-channel approach to sales that seeks to provide customers with seamless shopping experience, whether they are shopping online from a desktop, mobile device, by telephone, or a brick and mortar store. This is what Faisal told us. This starts from moving on premises to the cloud, which is common to leverage multiple vendors. Therefore, what we start is everything is connected to the cloud. The approach results in information federated across multiple providers and systems, but everybody has the same UI. By same UI, I mean the same data. This is a huge problem, that this approach results in information across multiple providers and systems. This is a huge problem because having a digital first strategy requires access to real-time relevant information across multiple systems and the mobility to execute business processes via multiple devices. For this to work, API must be used to access separate systems and provide necessary connectivity. There will be a single API for delivery. That API will be used by brick and mortar shop, on premises, online, on the mobile device, everywhere. The single API. The user interface might be different because in real time, all the data can change. Now, before we go forward, I want Anish, Shah Rukh, and one or two students to tell us what is the role of API in digital transformation. First of all, what is digital transformation and what is the role of API in digital transformation? Let's get started with some student. Can any student give us a brief what we have learned so far? I know this is the first class. Everybody, even in live on-site classes, people are afraid to talk. But don't worry. People always laugh at you, so therefore it doesn't matter.
Sir,
Companies are trying to go paperless. So for meetings and for all the engagements, some of the companies are using tablets. They are connecting their data, their real-time data and real-time information on tablets, and they are connecting all their data sources with them, and for that they need different kind of APIs which can interact with different kind of devices, because you don't want to have systems that are softwares that are connected. They are totally dependent on the platform they are being used, because in a company you can't say, you can't tell all your employees to use same kind of computers or same kind of tablet devices. In fact, in the future, IoT devices will many IoT device platforms will come, which will provide a lot of new sort of devices with new sort of interfaces. So they will need some API kind of connectivity to not only for engage in meetings, but also to collect real time data. Let's say from factories. Let's say if somebody is having a kitchen outsource services, because there are companies which are now doing such services, or if something is in financial markets, they want to get real time data from different sources at different type of platforms. So for them to go digital and paperless and always connected, they need to have a common set of interaction medium between their devices. So APIs will help them in that.
Faisal, you look very talented. You sound very talented. Could you tell us a little bit about your background?
I have recently submitted my PhD thesis in space sciences, and I did my master's from Australian National University in mathematics and astrophysics. I'm currently I have recently submitted my thesis at the University of Karachi, but I'm collaborating with the collaboration EMU ASCAP. It's an international radio astronomy collaboration. We are dealing with a huge amount of data and huge amount, a large amount of. We are basically trying to monitor 70 million galaxies. So a lot of work is related to computing and data sciences. So I'm trying to work with them and to find some useful results. With PIIC, I am pursuing. I have recently, we have recently completed quarter 4 with PIIC batch 2. So I'm waiting for results about that. I am also pursuing CNC program. I have just completed quarter 2 with your CNC program. So that's the brief background.
Faisal bhai, you are extremely welcome and very impressive.
Thank you.
And we are going to work together to learn from each other.
Inshallah.
Anis and Shah Rukh, Anis, could you elaborate on digital transformation?
Sir, actually, regarding the digital transformation, especially in the Corona age, everyone knows that what the digital transformation is, because everyone is working everything without using any physical access to the premises. For me, digital transformation means I'm not only use the paper things, but also the digital world in form of physical accessibility to my office and to my colleagues, to my universities, and many things. Previously, the barrier that were forced on us to be reached somewhere physically and work somewhere physically has now moved totally on the digital world. The more important thing on the next phase is that now we are separated geographically, but even that we are able to connect, develop, design, and test so many things together. So from my perspective, as a development point of view or AI point of view, digital transformation is to remove the barrier, geographical barriers, and many other things related to paper environment, physical or premises requirement, and so many things. For example, now everybody could start his business without having an office, which is from 5 to 10 years is was something is weird. But now everybody, for example, there will be a lot of YouTubers. They are working without have any office, and also so many developers working on the Upwork even doesn't have any real insight about their customers. That's it.
And Shah Rukh, would you like to add anything?
Basically, everything we have been told, but basically, digital transformation, we see nowadays there are many big vendors like Amazon, Google. So just I'm taking example of Google. our email ID is interconnected to multiple services of Google, whether we are in the payment base or in the mean of Google Map or whatever the integration, whatever information lies in our email address. This particular email is interconnected to our many other resources, many connection. So it, by making the thing digitalized, our entire thing, our movement are being digitalized, whether we are making a financial area, whether we're seeing the IoT area, whether we're seeing some other medical, whatever the thing, everything is getting digitalized with the help of this digitalized world transformation.
Yes. If you go to a company, consulting company right now, all these consulting companies are the Fortune 500 companies, and the consulting companies are talking about digital transformation. And what this COVID has done, it was progressing in the last 10, 15 years, but it increased the pace of digital transformation. Companies are investing heavily in digital transformation. So at least all of you guys should know about digital transformation and talk about it, especially in interviews. Now, what we have to see is, what we have seen is that the API adoption is exploding. Every future app will need an approach to program the world, a way of connecting, accessing, controlling every digital and physical asset on the planet. Now, this is a very strong statement. Everything will be an API. For example, your car will have an API. Your brakes in the car will have an API. And maybe, I'm joking, of course, I don't want my APIs to be created, but maybe my watch on my hand and my mobile phone will have an API to talk to them. So these APIs are going to be everywhere. Both physical assets and digital assets will have APIs, because physical assets, even the sofa I'm sitting on right now, this one, because it is an electric sofa, you can basically electric motor in it. In the future, it will have the API. The second point is, we must enable every form of digital asset to become programmable, transforming everything into an API. The world is on course to having 1 trillion programming endpoints. Trillion. Everything must and will become an API. This slide is the most important slide in this course. Everything is an API. API is a product. You sell and buy it. You use it. You put AI into it. You put a decentralized application using API. You put Internet of Things into APIs. Everything is API. And this is a very, very strong thing to say, and very, very strong thing to understand. Now, right now, where are the companies using APIs? 58% companies are using APIs for new application development because it increases the speed. 53% connect internal applications. 47% create a developer ecosystem so that other people can use it. For example, Stripe is creating a developer ecosystem. Develop business-to-business partner programs. If I want to connect to a trucking company, it will have an API which I'll talk to, and when I want to ship, I will use that API. Now, only 10% are using APIs to monetize as a new revenue stream. Now, this is because we are at the start of the revolution. Only 10% of the companies are using APIs to make money, because most companies do not understand how they are going to make money, and the infrastructure is not there, which right now my company, Panacloud, is working on this solution. I'm going to tell you by the end of this class, I think we will also use our platform. Let's see. It's a long way off. Now, this is the example. Application powered by APIs. Web 57, mobile 56, automation 49, IoT 46, desktop 34, and voice applications 26% are using APIs. It's not just the developers. APIs are having a big impact on operations and customers. By operation, I mean the day running of the company. It also has an API. And the customers also use API either indirectly through applications or directly if they are developers. The API traffic. Most of the API traffic is coming from the technology companies and retail and travel. Look at this, it is pathetic. Telecom companies are using 10% of the traffic. Media and entertainment, 9%. For example, Netflix APIs is basically in this 9%. Manufacturing 7% and financial 5%. From manufacturing and financial, this is a big opportunity. Actually, it is an opportunity in every case, but it is a big opportunity in manufacturing and financial. Healthcare industry. Your pacemaker will have an API. Of course, the security will be an issue. And so therefore, they are using APIs extensively, then financial services, then telecommunication technologies company. Look at this thing. This one is year-over-year growth. Therefore, look at this healthcare and life companies are using about 250% increase per year. Now, as I mentioned, there are two types of APIs. One which are used internally in the company, which is 50%, and the other is 44% is both internal and external, and 6% is external only. This is going to change in the future. There are a lot of companies are going to go towards external APIs. Research indicates higher API maturity tends to correspond with more robust digital transformation efforts. Companies based in the United States, larger companies and companies with the technology and financial services verticals were most likely to report high API maturity. These companies, what they are saying is that the mature companies are using APIs more extensively. But the companies, because the thing is, most of them don't even understand what the APIs are. So therefore, how are they going to use it? Now, views of APIs. The first thing is APIs help us better digital experience and products. What I am more interested in the second one, API accelerates innovation by exposing assets with partners. Imagine a world where I had an API for the airline, where I had an API for my trucking company, which I had APIs for all my suppliers. I can build an application which can completely automate my business. What a wonderful world it will be. This is how public APIs, right now there are 25,000 public APIs. When there are going to be trillion things connected to APIs, imagine how much APIs will have. Now, this is a very important slide. When I first start reading it, I did not understand it myself. When you say API as a product, normally you never used to sell your APIs. You are going to use it internally. That was how it started off in the last 30, 40 years. But now it is a product which you can sell to a customer. Of course, it is a developer who is going to use the API, who is going to build the application, or he is using your APIs to build another higher level APIs. Now I will request any student to tell me when I say API is a product, what does it mean? Any student?
Sir,
Assalamualaikum.
Ahmed, Atif, somebody start off.
sir, sir, API as a product means that we are selling API to another person or another company.
So therefore,
We are using API as a product means like we have products, so we sell it to other, or we can give it to others. So we are using API as a product.
yes. Anybody else?
API as a product means that we make an API and sell it to another developer so that he can use in his own software. And we can say that we not only make a whole software as a whole, but only makes some part of a software, which I think API as a product maybe.
Anybody else?
Let me give you an example. Yes, Assalamu alaikum. I think the API could become the ecosystem of another product, so it becomes the product itself.
Anybody else?
Yes, sir. Excuse me, sir. Sir, airline, I'm having background from airline. So many people are developing the APIs for the traffic, ongoing traffic to radars. And they are selling their APIs to the different systems in the airline so that they can readily know where their aircrafts are anywhere in the world. So this is an example of that.
Sir, I want to add a scenario which could give you some idea, everyone's idea that how an API as a product could work. Actually, currently, for example, I'm a businessman and sell certain products. For example, plastic accessories or plastic household things. Now the problem is that I have a lot of middle type of services like Daraz.com and many other similar, even Amazon is exist. The problem is I have to deal them individually. I have to upload data to Daraz, as well as I have to provide data to the Metro online services and many others. In this scenario, managing my data is a somewhat complicated process. In my designing approach, what I would do, I will establish an API so the Daraz, the Metro online, the other people could connect with the API and start accessing my products on demand and whenever they need in the real time. So when they will start accessing the product, the data and the information, I could say this is API as a product. So what I did not do anything new, not even business. I definitely just shift my data integration using an API approach, and now my APIs becomes a product, an online selling system. This is my idea. Are you agree with it?
Yes, yes. The thing is, what we have to now, let's move to the second point. There's a problem. The obvious problem is selling an API as a product is marketing. Imagine. That is why 20 years back, if you have told me that APIs are being sold, I never would have agreed with it. I'll say, because there's no sleek interface to promote and there's no demo that can show off the bells and whistles. It is essentially an invisible product whose value is only evident once it's integrated into a platform, something that takes hours, days, or weeks to become familiar with. Now, this is a problem. But nature is helping us. Now the companies want to innovate. They want to innovate fast. If you build everything yourself, it is going to take 5 years, 3 years. People don't have 3 years. They want to build something in 6 months. Therefore, they take a chance. I'll give you an example. For example, Stripe. Stripe is the biggest API private limited company, which is a private company which is 100 billion valuation. Why? Imagine if I had to connect to all the banks, all the credit card issuers. I will be doing nothing else except doing this, and my application will be lost. It will take me 2 years to develop a payment API. Now, Stripe provides me an easy API which I can use in my application to make payments. Look at the magic. So therefore, a lot of companies are using Stripe. There's no option if you want to do it. So therefore, what we have learned, if you want to be API as a product, if it is very simple product, for example, you say, I'm going to sell a calculator API. A calculator API, if it is very highly difficult calculator, but if it's a simple calculator, anybody can develop it in a day. The APIs will not sell. What you need is a complicated thing which will take a lot of time, at least 2-3 months for somebody to develop. So therefore, they are going to use your API to develop it. Shah Rukh, would you like to add anything on API as a product?
Best to add to this thing, we are using Google Map. Nowadays, the map are used in all majority of that, whether it is an Uber app or a Careem app or Food Panda app. So if we are everybody creating their own maps, it will take number of times to make they build them. So most common example which have been used by everyone these days are Google Map, which has been used in iOS and Android app, because Apple map are limited to certain region, but Google Map is means area of big scope of area. So as an API, that is a product. So Google has many sort of services, many product of there. So people just take it as a mean of services and help them out in their new businesses or whatever they want to integrate. It saves the time of a developer and the product to be launched.
Very excellent example, Shah Rukh. Imagine if I wanted to add a map in my application, and if I don't use Google APIs or somebody else's API, there's no way I can develop the application. It will require 5 years. Just the Google Maps API, if I have to develop it myself. Why all the interest in API? One of the most important reason is the growth in cloud computing, which has led to the need for integration, because all the APIs are now available on the cloud. All the applications are on the cloud. We need to integrate. I would like to integrate the Zoom APIs with my application if I want to develop a teaching application. APIs enable companies to more easily build products and services that would otherwise take too long to build. The time factor. Developers can use APIs to more easily access business critical information and focus on other priorities instead. Are you going to solve your business problem or develop Google Map APIs, payment APIs yourself? If you do it yourself, so therefore your main business will not be focused at all.
Sir, I want to add one thing from my side regarding the API and use of the API. For example, nowadays, many people who are designer or graphic developers, previously, they are limited to utilize a GPU. If they don't have enough powerful GPU, they won't able to render their graphic solution or the game solution or visual things type of things. Recently, I heard that, and I realized that certain people who are a graphic designer or a visual developer and the newer software, for example, Unity the Unity or even the other software application also provide that you can connect with the remote GPU. So in this kind is a hardware or a GPU is working as an API. So how the hardware provider converting their product rather than provide that product physically, they are providing an API. Using the API, you can consume their hardware, complete their product development, and then you have nothing to do physically.
Yes, Salman Mirza, you have a question?
Yes, sir. I would like to share one API example. My name is Salman and I work on IT projects in Riyadh. So basically, industry-specific example, these days, because of e-commerce, 3PL business is becoming very popular. You are giving warehousing facilities to different e-commerce customers. So in that case, every customer might have a different strategy for the pickup and the delivery of their goods. So what people are doing, they have developed now APIs which are residing on the middleware. So whenever there is a new customer coming to a 3PL e-commerce company, so they just give them the interface of the standard API and they go and use this interface for the send and receive information. So this is becoming, I mean, a standard approach, even if there are 100 different customers with 100 different strategies for their storage, replenishment, all those things. So easily you can manage those warehouses by building such standard APIs.
Very nice example. Now,
Sir, I have a small question. Sorry, if you can just clear it out. I've seen these days the banks are actually very reluctant to go to the external APIs. I just wanted to have your views on, normally if the APIs are given from Visa or, from MasterCard or from Europay, they normally go for it. And even they are, able to pay it also. But when it comes to external APIs from other, vendors, they get very reluctant because of the security issues and they don't want to even go to the cloud also. I mean, how to change their mindset?
my friend, I have been dealing with some of the banks and I have given up on them. It's sad to say, but the thing is, I think that is why companies like Stripe are going to basically destroy the banking as we know it, banking industry as we know it. These companies, first of all, they don't have I think they are doing right if they're not making APIs available externally. Because with their competence and with the kind of people they are working for them, if I was the CEO, I would also not allow them to go public because I might get bankrupt very soon. Because of the security issues, you need a very special kind of team, very well-trained people. Therefore, the first thing you have to do is basically retrain all the people or maybe hire new people, I don't know, depending on your strategy. Therefore, you are pointing out correctly, the old style companies don't stand a chance in the new world, I'm sad to report, because they don't have the technical skill. So therefore, I agree with them. They don't have the manpower to basically compete with Stripe. So therefore, right now, they can only pray that Stripe progress is slow and they can make money for the next 10 years. But I don't think so. Blockchain and all these digital transform API first companies are going to kill them.
Sir, yeah, you are absolutely right. I want to add certain things from the data point of view. And yes, that was always a challenge. And still, this is a challenge because there are some legal issue for the financial transactions as well as the data safety, security, and integrity sort of issues. So the answer is the API. Previously, for example, if you want to transform or move any banking application from their local data centers to cloud, we have also to move the data. Why? Because the most applications previously developed are not the API based approach. They are the legacy style of approach where they has to access data internally without using the API. But with the rise of the API, now the bank has an option. For example, if I'm making a service which works on the API base, so it is possible for me that I could deploy that application to the cloud, and using that API approach, it could connect to the data anywhere in the world, process that data, and extract the required information, even required information with a very secure manner, like encryption and this time of things, and produce the result. Even though I'm utilizing my customer data, I'm not exposing any logic, any secret, anything, only exposing the API. So now this is also an advantage for the banks and also the software developer in the business domain, because their business knowledge is very required. For example, if there are the two people who are making separate software, one making, for example, investment portfolio in the bank, another working for the retail customer, both can merge each other using the API, because they are not sharing any code, any database, any knowledge, just exposing the API. So I believe that soon, if every bank start their development and the banking software start developing using the API approach, soon they don't have such type of issues like moving their things to the cloud. That's it.
Thank you. Very nicely said. Now let's move forward. Now, when we are talking about API, we are moving into the age of API economy. Now the question is, what is the API economy? When we talk about, for example, I'm going to tell you, let's talk about Pakistan economy. Let's talk about United States economy. So then when you talk about United States economy, you are basically saying what is being bought and sold. Right now, in the last 2-3 years before, we were in the application economy, where we are buying and selling applications or renting applications or whatever. Now, what is this API economy? The innovative power of APIs has led to the realization that software as a service applications can be built by combining APIs built by specialized API providers. You don't have to do everything. Let other people do things. That in turn has created the API economy, which powers developers to specialize and monetize their skill and domain knowledge. You are going to only focus on payments, for example, if you are Stripe, and develop the APIs. You have the domain knowledge. I don't. The exchange of these APIs and the system to manage them is a nutshell, is the API economy. It's a marketplace. It's a bazaar. If you go to Alif Lala and older things, there was a bazaar in Baghdad where everything was sold and bought. Some of them were not very good things like slaves, but thank God we are beyond that point. Humanity is beyond that point. So therefore, in the API economy, there will be thousands and thousands of different APIs which people are going to basically subscribe to and pay for that services. This is basically the API economy. And it is going to be the next $1 trillion economy. And this is the third wave. And third wave of basically disruption, and it is going to change everything. The API value chain. The API company is a API first company, means a company which is not first focused on developing APIs, not applications. The API is used by the developer to make application for the customer. This is the API value chain. But I view it even a little bit advanced than this. The API first company develops an API which is consumed by another API first company, and which is consumed by another layer of API first company. And then the developer uses to make the application for the customer. This chain does not mean just that there are 3 people. In the middle, there can be a lot of different people involved. An API company is using another API company. APIs from another API company. The exchange of value is what makes an API economy. In the API economy, a developer may have different roles. It may be application developer or API provider. Of course, in the bazaar also, you could be a buyer, you can be a seller. The API provider can also develop on top of other specialized API, thus create layers of APIs. As I was telling you, the previous diagram can be more sophisticated. This creates an API economy where developers charge each other for the API built by them. The API provider charges others for using their API. At the same time, pay other providers to use their APIs. I'm getting paid from somebody else and paying somebody else and adding my value. The application developer who use all these API bills the end customer for the service. Basically, in the end, the user pays. This exchange of value is what makes the API economy. Anish bhai, wouldn't it be great that you are a database and AI experts? If you give me the AI part of the APIs and help me develop and I develop the application, wouldn't it be great? And both of us will benefit. I will pay you for your services and I will get the money from the customer.
Of course, sir, this is a very natural phenomena. For example, in Panacloud, you have already developed so many enterprise applications. For example, you have developed a web portal, mobile applications, and so many things. Now, what should I do? The risky thing is that I'll share my code, my libraries with you, and make my code and my software part of your system. But I would be always in a risk that maybe you could kick me out. But the ideal situation is that I develop an API and expose my API with you. What would you do? You will send data to my API, and my API will consume that data, and my processing would return the output, the answers, or in our AI thing we call prediction or inference output to your application. And all your application could easily use the feedback or the output in your any existing application. Even you don't need to change any sort of code, just need to consume my API. So as an AI developer, I always work with so many people, and I always suggest them that if you want to enable API in your business application, you won't need to rewrite your application. You just need to create some cushion for another AI API. So the AI API would be a service provider for you. You will consume the API and you will pay as much as you consume. For example, if you utilize my AI API 100 times a day, you have to pay me as per the contract, the 100 call of the API. What do you think about that?
Very, very nicely said. Very nicely. Shah Rukh, would you like to add anything?
Just my means in the world, things are going very rapidly, especially in the area of IoT. Now people are not here in outside. People are placing the solar cells in their homes. So they're selling their electricity, excess electricity what they have generated to the market. Selling and this selling of the thing and generating a bill for whatever the extra resources, energy that's created at the home with the help of solar panels. Keeping the track of everything, this API of sharing, consuming traffic helps to make the economy very strong. With the help of these certain APIs, using some apps and certain services of the cloud, they can share whatever the product. Best example, these are solar cells, electricity we're creating at the homes.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's move forward. What are the benefits of the API economy? The API economy levels the playing field for everyone, from the smallest developer to the largest company. I can build applications which previously I could never even think of. The taxi booking SaaS app, for example, might combine a mapping API, a communication API, a billing SaaS API, each from different providers with their own UX layered on top. Marvelous. This makes it easy to launch new services without having to build everything from scratch. This makes it easier for all participants to develop unique products, services, and functionality quickly with less cost. Nobody can disagree. The ultimate goal of the API economy to facilitate the creation of user-focused apps that support line of business goals and improve workforce throughput. We want to develop products for the end customer. It's not developing APIs are not an end in itself. So while developing APIs, you have to think about the end customer, how they are going to use it, so that they can develop applications for the end user in a very fast way. Today's demand for data integration has encouraged vendors of all sizes to go modular and break complex software components down into smaller containerized components called microservices. It also supports that. The API economy and the use of microservices make data and services more accessible and flexible. As Anis was saying, that there is a difficulty in the sharing data. Just share the APIs. With, of course, security safeguards. By building business models around APIs, business can rapidly scale up by using APIs. This can be done by accessing third-party services data or using APIs to transform your own data and services into a platform that encourages others to build upon and use it. Any questions from students? Any questions, or we'll move forward?
So what exactly we are saying here, that, you know, smallest businesses or even the grocery stores or maybe big chains, they do not need to create their own software, small companies. They can just bring in a developer or two, and then they can create their own APIs or borrow the APIs from the market, and they can build their own systems. This is what exactly we are saying.
Exactly.
Sir, there is a question over the chat that in this scenario, what UI or UX layer going to play?
Actually, it's not just UI UX. It can be a voice application. That's a good thing about the APIs. It can be anything. It can be a mobile app, a web app, or some kind of app which I have not even thought about yet. Maybe a 3-dimensional avatar. All these applications will be using the same APIs. So therefore, the UI UX thing is not going to go away. But it is much easier to use somebody else's API, like we already discussed, the Google Map API to do this. So therefore, that is the answer. That UI UX is there, but it makes their work easier.
A question, sir. How are the big giants looking at this revolution? The big giants like
The
Facebook.
thing is, there are different kinds of giants. For example, Amazon will love it. Why? The APIs will be developed on their infrastructure. Azure will love it. And Google will also love it. But there are some companies which initially were against the cloud by itself, like Oracle, and they have paid a heavy price. Just as we were mentioning, the banks who will not adopt will be in trouble. What the problem was with Oracle was that they already invested $100 billion in acquiring companies with legacy systems. And when the cloud appeared, they started bad-mouthing cloud just so that Amazon will go away, and Salesforce.com will go away. They did not go away, and now they have entered the market too late, and Oracle is, I think, in the 5th or 6th place. They have the money, but they don't have the time. Amazon already has, AWS has already so many services. For them to compete with AWS is going to be very tough. So therefore, it depends on companies, but most companies love these APIs because it allows companies to integrate. The difficult part will be where the fighting will go is, for example, for payment APIs. Stripe will want their APIs to become the standard for payments. Google and AWS and other companies in the payment space will never allow that. The banks will hate it. So therefore, there are going to be API standardization wars. and let the strongest survive and win. That's going to happen. It's a question of standardization. For example, AWS says, if you think about this, AWS itself is an API. AWS is nothing but an API. It's an API for a data center. So therefore, Google, what Amazon says is that everybody should standardize on their API. But of course, Azure and Google and even Oracle doesn't want to do that. Let's see what happens. But there's going to be, of course, a lot of standardization fighting. Anybody else?
Sir, I want to clarify my understanding of API. In my opinion, what I have understand is API is a piece of code which will take input from the application and give output to that application. Am I right, sir?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Exactly on the dot.
But don't worry, my friend, because we will further discuss how to design and develop and do many things regarding the API. So this is a starting session, but later on you would be able to know how to develop and design API. So you have a more understanding regarding the API.
Sir, any example regarding the manufacturing industry? How
Now,
API is
question
integrated
is of
in
the importance of the API economy. As Anis was giving an example that API simplifies access to the information contained in the Slack platform and their functionality. For example, I want to develop an application which I need information on when the plane has landed or not. The IA plane has landed or not. An aircraft has landed or not on the airport. So that information without APIs is going to be very difficult to get along. We will have to enter it ourselves and it's going to be very difficult. They make software platforms and data easier to integrate. Of course, different applications can integrate. The API economy is important because it enables businesses to profit off their APIs because it's a product and create business models around it. They can make a lot of money off it. Stripe they don't have an application. Shopify, they have an application, but for bigger companies, they have APIs, and most of the money they are making with bigger companies is through the APIs. It allows a business to monetize the portion of its data and services and turn itself into a platform. Now, before we go forward, who is going to explain to me what is the thing of converting a business into a platform? What does it mean? Are we talking about a railway station platform or something else? I'm just joking, of course.
There are companies like which share customer credit information, or there are companies which used to track criminal data, but instead of sharing the database or sharing the data itself, they can have an API connected, which will provide a gateway or an endpoint for a developer or a company to integrate these things into their applications. Like similarly, Google Maps do. They share their part of their data and part of their development capability to various developers. Similarly, with in financial industry, stock exchange, real-time results can be there was a fixed standard. I think I'm forgot if I'm not forgetting the name. It used to give real-time data from the stock exchanges. That is something which can be integrated into the application without actually needing to go into the details of each and every stock exchange standards. They are moving towards a same standard, and these same standards are now available in the forms of API and service endpoints. So that can be further developed into things like different kind of services which can easily be integrable into the multi-platforms instead of because at the moment I think some of them are still a lot platform dependent. That thing will further go into multi platform, or like they don't need to worry about which language you are using, which platform you are using, or which device you are using. So these things will go towards that.
Now, this is Gartner is saying the API economy is an enabler for turning a business or organization into a platform. What does this mean? Faisal bhai, you basically spoke very eloquently, but basically you were telling us that what API means. You did not mention what a platform is. How can you make an organization a platform? Anybody else?
Sir, can we think that AWS in Azure of Microsoft is a platform which has its data, their models and everything?
They're a platform. But what is a platform?
A complete package to develop the application along with their APIs and their data, which is proprietary to them.
Let's see. In the most general terms, a platform is a group of technologies, solutions of offering that form an iterative basis for developing, implementing, or deploying other offerings. What is a platform? Platform is, for example, if you can just able to use Zoom, it is not a platform. But if Zoom provides some way of other people to develop other products on top of it, then it's a platform. A platform is a business model that creates value by facilitating exchanges between two or more interdependent groups, usually consumers and producers. They make software platforms and their data easier to integrate. In order to make these exchanges happen, platforms harness and create large scalable networks of users and resources that can be accessed on demand. Platforms create communities and markets with network effects that allows users to interact and transact. My company and our company, Panacloud, is a platform for the API economy. We are right now developing it, and therefore, right now it's in stealth mode, but in due course of time, will most probably in this bootcamp, we are going to use that platform. The point is, platform is something. For example, it doesn't have to be digital platform. If I create a business, for example, let's say, I'll give you an example. Anish, for lunch, what do you do in office?
Sir, in different days, different things.
So let's assume that you want food to be delivered to you. Of course.
Yes.
You are a hard worker. You want to sit on your desk and the food should be delivered. Now let's see if I don't create a food delivery business. What I do is, if I create a food delivery business where you can call me and book food for yourself, then it's not a platform.
Yeah.
Let's assume that if I create a delivery service where I can pick food from any place and deliver it to you, then it's a platform, because other food providers, restaurants, will be able to use my application.
Yes, sir.
It can be just on the phone or anything. So therefore, if other people can use your product to develop more products on top of it, then it's a platform.
Yeah, this is nice. Absolutely right.
For example, all these Procter and Gamble's, they have a lot of distributors. What they do is they buy things from Procter and Gamble and then they deliver to the retail shop. These distributors are platforms. They don't have to be digital. Anything which helps others to develop applications, not applications, others to develop businesses on top of you, top of the services you provide, is a platform. Let's move forward. Now, this is already we have discussed. How do customers benefit from third-party APIs versus building internally? Your boss will come and tell you, let's develop it ourselves. I'll tell him, of course, I'm joking, but I'll tell him, you do it. He said, let's not use Stripe. I don't believe in them. We'll develop our own APIs, payment APIs. I said, okay, we'll develop, give me 10 developers, give me $20 million. I said, that's too much. Why are you asking for $20 million? I said, do you imagine how much Stripe has spent? Most probably $50 billion to develop the application and the APIs. And you are asking me to develop it in $100,000? That's not possible. That is the main benefit. Better customer experience. APIs reduce friction in the customer experience by making it possible to bring customer information from different sources. Cost and resource effectiveness. As I told you, give me $20 million, I'll develop an application for you. Increase data visibility, faster time to market. Time in market, that is the main argument. Now, before we go forward, this is the important thing. As I told you, Stripe is the example of API first company. What is an API first company? Let's hear from some of the students. Anybody? I know this is the first class. Most people are afraid of talking, even in regular classes. When I was a student myself, I was also afraid. Yes.
Hello,
yes,
sir.
sir.
Can you explain?
This one, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, sir. API first. What I understand is the company. Let's suppose they have 4 software engineers. They don't go for development themselves. They first look for an API and then make the application. They don't go directly for coding.
Sir, in my opinion, API first approach, API first companies are those companies which are developing API for others.
Not necessarily. That is, I agree. Basically, you are right. But the thing is, one is, right now we mentioned, that's why I put API first approach. The idea is, even if you're, for example, we are developing Panacloud, which is a API economy platform for the API economy. We are developing the API first, not the user interface. It's a good way of developing applications. First, develop the APIs, and then even if you are not just going to sell the APIs, but you are going to develop a user interface on top of it, it makes sense, a lot of sense to develop API first. Basically, yes, Anis.
Sir, can I add something? Yeah. My question with the student who asked a question is that, suppose you want to going a software product, an application, whether it's a web-based application, a desktop application, or even a mobile application. What would you design first? It's a database, it's data repository, code, user interface, graphical user interface. What would you design first? What do you usually design first? Or what do you think that
front end
should be? Front end. It means you are going to design user interface.
Yes, sir.
So this is called user interface first approach. It means UI first approach. But problem with the UI first is that you have to design a front end that may or may not be integrated with the other application. So again, the problem and challenges would be, because that might possible. For example, is a very, very common problem is a user login. For example, you have developed a UI, you are going to design a user login first. Now, there are other existing application exists and you want to integrate your application with that application. So the user has has to log in once again and again, or you have to enable different sort of third-party authentication. Sir Zia mentioned here that rather than starting from the user interface, why not you start from the API first approach? I mean, why don't you start designing an API first? So your API would be able as a gateway or as a front end of your application to the other application, to the other developer, or even your own developer, they are working on the front end. It means that everyone working on the front end would design on your API rather than on your code. I hope this is clear for you.
Yes,
Anisbhai, I'll give you an example. Most probably, I think Food Panda would have started in the same approach. You know, I think they did not go for the front end first. They created their APIs. They gave these APIs to their own. I mean, many restaurants. Now, what restaurant is doing whenever they have new product, they are actually calling their APIs to show it on their interface now. I think this would have been their approach.
Very, very nice. Let's move forward. The API first approach is, the idea is the API is our product. Of course, even if you're developing an application, the application is the product, but we will give equal importance to the API. Approach means that by giving development project, your API is treated as a first-class citizen. You give equal importance. APIs allow companies to break down capabilities into individual autonomous services, also known as microservices. Therefore, the current development way is also helps us develop these microservices. An API-first strategy allows organizations to build APIs that serve all applications. That is the most important thing. An application can be developed and maintained efficiently for all devices, platforms, and operating system. The problem is, if you are developing UI first, if you are developing a mobile app first, you are only going to think in terms of mobile apps. But if you are developing an API first, the same API will be used for the web, and the same API will be used for the mobile, and the same API is going to be for the chatbots, and so on. Let's move forward. Now, these are the rise. The last screen was, note this, API first approach. Now we are talking about API first companies. There's the difference. Look at these names. Their primary product is API. Stripe is valued at $100 billion. Others are 35 billion. This is the age of APIs. If you have told me 10 years back, develop APIs, basically it is component for the servers. I said, who is going to buy it, yaar? Who is going to buy it? How am I going to get paid? But the API economy makes it possible. Now, these are the acquisitions of API first companies. Look at this. 2016. We are right now talking about APIs. These companies, Red Hat was thinking about it, and Google and Oracle were thinking about this. Salesforce was thinking about it in 2016 and 17. Now even Visa is thinking about it. Now this, look at this chart. The third-party API economy. This is the public APIs. Payments, e-commerce, messaging, content management, identity, verification, health, security, logistics, payroll, search, forms, video, automation. These are the companies that are coming up. And we want, and I want you guys, because developing applications is very tough, because imagine if we want to compete with Microsoft Office, how are we going to compete? Because it's going to be very expensive to reach the end customer. Developers are a limited number of developers. It's comparatively less expensive to basically market to them. And we can make a lot of money. And we specialize, we don't need a big team. Now everything has some problems. I know when you guys, I'm not married at 60, but when you guys, some of you, the younger ones, they think that if they get married, their wife is going to cook food for them and they are going to enjoy life and so on. But everything has challenges. Only Anis and Shah Rukh can tell you what are the challenges of being married. But because that is not the topic, we are going to discuss what are the challenges of the API economy. Often there is no direct contact between the API provider and the developer who is utilizing it. It can be hard to know which API to build with what functionality. I don't have any contact with the end customer who is developing the application. How do I know which APIs to build? It is, and for the developer who is developing the application, it is difficult to know which APIs are available and which APIs to use and their comparative strengths and weaknesses. Most of the current SaaS applications are API building using legacy cloud 1.0 technology. That they don't have usage-based billing support, or also some have scalability issues. Another problem. So therefore, the first two, Anis, would you care to revise the first two?
Yeah, of course, sir. But I want to also give you the answer of your past question, that what are the special challenge of the marriage life. So because I think that still now and even 10 or 20 years before, the marriage is not designed for the API first approach. So maybe if we start marriages with the API first approach, so we have to able to overcome certain challenges. So that is the first thing is very, very practical and the challenging, that the mind it's a game of the mind, because people still not very much aware the design shift of the API. So they feel comfortable using direct code and libraries rather than the API, because they think that using the API needs some overhead and this type of things. It's always been a challenge. Even if you could remember, when the cloud start, everybody thinks that working on their own local data center or computer is easy. So the first challenge is definitely that the API provider and a developer who is using this does not have some side of protocols and some side of the information sharing approach. So this could be a challenge, because the API is emerging thing. So because the API approach is emerging things, new and new things are adding in that. So this is a challenge for the developer who has to change a lot of things to design and develop a new application. So this is the my explanation of the first thing. So I'll let you request Shah
Salman,
to
Salman just raised a hand about a question. Salman, what's the question? Salman, do you have a question? You raised your hand. I think he pushed the button by mistake or something. Anyway, now the
नहीं अंदर दराज के अंदर पड़ी है, ये तो ऊपर पड़ी है।
दराज के अंदर से नहीं, प्रॉमिस दराज के अंदर से।
I think 500 वाली है, 500 वाली क्या ये रखा ऊपर।
I think somebody.
Oh नहीं।
Anish, could you mute Khurram?
Yeah. But I want to know that if the book is very important, so we can also listen. Anyway, I have muted, sir. You can continue.
Okay. Most of the current SaaS applications are API built using legacy cloud 1.0. What do you mean by legacy? The thing is, most APIs are developed using legacy applications, by which I mean you are talking about using containers, not serverless technology, or you are using virtual machines, not serverless technology. Serverless is cloud 2.0. In serverless, you pay for what you use, and it is unlimited scalable. So point number 3 arises because most of the APIs are not serverless. So therefore, they charge a monthly fee because their virtual machine will be running. And they are going to ask you to pay for it, even if you don't use it. So therefore, what we are doing in this course is learning to develop APIs which are serverless. So therefore, we want to define a new type of APIs which are serverless APIs. It's, of course, we are not defining it. The industrial has already defined it. But they are not covered that extensively. The APIs is, the fourth point is the APIs are centrally managed and multi-tenant. Now, who is going to explain to me what is multi-tenant?
Multi-tenant means that you can give your API to somebody and they will pay you.
No, my friend. Anybody else?
This is a platform where you can have multiple customers and they don't interact with each other unless we want to. So they have separate security. It's like a separate container for each customer. That's multi-tenant.
You are almost there, but a little bit off. Anybody else?
Sir, when many people are using same resources.
Yes. The thing is, Raza, for example, take the example of Google Docs. It's a single application. Everybody is using it. Millions of people are using it at the same time. But how do we know that who is using what resources? That is the problem. APIs are centrally managed and multi-tenant by their very nature, because the thing is, there are two ways of doing it. One is, Anish comes to me and say, please give me an API. I'll say, start a new virtual machine and give him access to that machine to call the APIs. That's one way of doing it. But the problem with that is it's very expensive, and who is going to maintain that virtual machine? If you want APIs to be really cheap and for everybody to use it, you want multi-tenant APIs. All of them you're using at the same time. But then if all of them are using at the same time with same resources, how are you going to charge resource? Because user wants, if I don't call an API, don't ask me to pay. If you call it 10 times, ask me to pay a little bit of money to you. Therefore, serverless and APIs are a perfect match, where you are basically using on a usage-based model, not a subscription-based model where you pay a fixed amount of money each month. Now, going to the fifth point, each and every API provider has to build a custom platform to monitor and measure serverless resources, usage and billing clearing functionality, thus increasing the time to market. Now I want to monitor if everything is, my response time of the API is not wrong. Not wrong, but I means too long. I want to measure how much Anish is using. I want to build a platform that there's an extreme shortage of serverless cloud developers, thus making life very difficult for both API providers and SaaS app companies. How are you going to get the cloud providers? Developers, cloud developers. Where are you going to find them? There's a scarcity of coherent and comprehensive training material for multi-tenants, serverless SaaS apps, and API developers. This is this course and Bootcamp 2020. That in this course, we are going to address these challenges, and this is providing the material for developing applications, multi-tenant applications and APIs. And our Panacloud platform is going to address these 7 challenges. That is why I will be able to enumerate it, because before developing Panacloud products, we had to define the challenges that were faced by the customers. And these are the challenges. We are going to solve that with our products so that all of you developers don't have to worry about these things. They asked the top CEOs of this world, which in the next few years will deliver results. And this is the diagram. This is the picture. I'm surprised at the CEOs are very gung-ho about Internet of Things. 74% cloud computing and artificial intelligence, 52%, which is a little bit surprising to me. But most CEOs don't understand artificial intelligence. Maybe that is the reason. Now, this is a diagram is also very important. From the cloud, the data goes into AI. The decision making for blockchain is done by them for AI. Cloud provides processing power for AI and so on. Look at this diagram. If somebody asks me, sir, are you saying that you are going to fuse AI, blockchain, and this diagram tells you all. Everything is connected. Anis, would you like to say something about or Shah Rukh on this diagram?
Shah Rukh, you first.
Basically, I would like to add that now everything is getting matured. So as we need more computing power, so now for the more computing power getting, I think that quantum computing will take a wider role to make things happen. Now, apart from computing, we need now in the world, we need intelligence. For intelligence, definitely we need some certain part of AI to be integrated to the whatever the application on which the API will be linked with it. And to make the thing more secure, the blockchain services will be required to make the entire network, entire system be more reliable, more secure. So combination of these things will be linked to the cloud, because end of it, as an application will be placed in the cloud, make that application more secure, more computing power and intelligent. These three blocks will be taking a major role in merging the maturity technologies, whatever technology we are being using it.
Thank you. Anish, anything?
Yeah, I want to say from my perspective that now using the API, it's also helping different technology, which is very useful and very required to integrate each other. For example, think about the quantum computer. Quantum computing is a very much helpful in AI, because we have to process a large set of data for training and pre-processing, and quantum computing could reduce our training time from hours and days to minutes, or sometime in seconds. So definitely quantum computer is very much important, as well as the blockchain, which also can use the quantum computing. So two things like quantum computing and blockchain data can be a provider for the AI. And on the other hand, the cloud infrastructure is also needed requirement, because the data is a huge data we need to be processed, and so many other things for other process. And I could not do these certain things over my laptop or even a single or multiple desktop. For example, for the AI training, I have to process data every day for 1 or 2 hours. So in such scenario, cloud, quantum computing, and even any things just like blockchain could be a provider for an AI service. On the other hand, it is also possible that AI could be a backend or a facilitator for the cloud thing and the for the blockchain. For example, cloud infrastructure sometimes need scalability, predictive scalability, where AI could help. So these services needs to be integrate each other, and the API could provide a very best approach to integrate such very powerful but different technologies. That's it.
Thank you so much. When we started off in first we were studying AI, then we started integrating AI with the cloud, and there was a lot of resistance by teachers and students as well. because they don't understand this diagram. But now I think, Raza, you had a question?
Sir, I want to explain what I have learned from this diagram and your explanations. Like we can AI needs data for making model to make decisions. So the data will come from the cloud, as cloud is also for storage. So data will come from cloud and our model will be trained. While training, we need computation power, more and more computation power. So there are quantum computers. Quantum computers are more powerful, like 264. It's more powerful than 264 supercomputers of classical supercomputers. So we can take computation power from quantum sets, and then if when we have model, so we can make decision making for smart contracts for blockchain. And blockchain will generate immutable data, means which cannot be changed. And this data will can be encrypted through quantum technologies, like quantum computing.
Raza, marvelous. You are extremely talented. What is the link between APIs and artificial intelligence? This is the API course, a serverless API course. Digitalization creates a lot of data. APIs will have leverage artificial intelligence technology like machine learning and all, etc., to build APIs. Without data, and data is coming from the APIs, how can there be artificial intelligence? Wouldn't be great to have an AI as a service available via APIs, which could talk to several programming languages to be able to build your own applications? For example, let me give you an example. If I'm using Google Maps, if I want to develop my own APIs for defining the shortest path to a destination, wouldn't it be marvelous that Google APIs provides me this? And the API model building, everything else will be done by the API developer, not me. Therefore, what it does is they are a perfect match, API and artificial intelligence. How does API bring AI to life? APIs help train the system by enabling access to the right information. First, you train the model. I'm assuming that if you understand AI, you know that you have to train a model. For that, you train the model, you need data. API also provides ability for AI systems to act across the entire customer journey by enabling a communication channel, the nervous system, with broader application landscape. Therefore, APIs and AI go hand in hand. Now, this is very important. One is building AI into the APIs, of using AI in the code in the API. But another way of thinking about another approach is that the API by itself are managed by AI systems. Therefore, AI is used not only in developing the APIs, but also in managing them. In this case, the AI will be outside the API. The API management will be, and the security capabilities will be provided by the AI. Now, let's go to the IoT. Successful IT deployments consist of layers, including the devices that collect the data, the network that delivers the data, and applications that analyze and make sense of the data. If you're trying to develop a monolithic IoT application, it will never work. If you want to be successful in your application, you will have to have layers. One is that devices are collecting data, then you deliver the data and to the edge or the cloud, depending on your architecture, and then you analyze and make sense of that data. Therefore, all these layers have to talk to each other. How do they talk to each other? While they need to work together as an integrated whole, it is important that organizations future-proof their business by making the components modular using API. Otherwise, it will be a jumble of code. Nobody will understand. All the different layers have to have a well-defined APIs. Underpinned by APIs, IoT systems enable application data and devices to be plugged in out seamlessly without negative knockout effects. What it's basically saying is, imagine if your cloud data, cloud application is directly connected to a device and the device is changed or the device goes down, the entire system will go down. But if there are clean, well-defined APIs, everything will continue working because it doesn't matter if you change the device, the new device will keep on working. Another benefit of taking the API-led approach is that security is built by the design. As API can regulate and enforce who has access to what data. Of course, APIs have security, so therefore you don't have to worry about security in this case. For blockchain applications, imagine a gaming contract on Ethereum written in Solidity. The gaming contract chooses a winner who receives a sum of $100 in Bitcoin. Your application first needs the API to detect who has won the raffle. Then you need to send the payment via Bitcoin network and monitor if the transaction is complete. All the actions can be provided by a single API. Therefore, it is fair to say, but if you every developer has to work with blockchain, the UI developer will have to know the blockchain, the middleware people will have to know the blockchain. Therefore, the API will hide all the complexity. So therefore, the last thing is, in short, blockchain APIs definitely lower the barrier for implementing blockchain functionality, as an API is a well-known technology. Every developer in your team does not have to know blockchain. So we have discussed so far. Anis and Shah Rukh are going to say, let's talk about, go back and first discuss. Anis, you are going to please give a brief thing, how APIs and AI match.
Yeah, of course, sir. Can I share my own screen so I could change slides easily?
Of course. Go ahead. I'm going to stop here.
Okay. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Actually, I developed certain scenarios. So we can proceed. Okay. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Clear? Yeah. So actually, one thing I guess we have discussed very clearly, but in a very less time, which is the serverless API. So here is my design philosophy or my design thinking, that when you are talking about the API, there are certain things you have to be considered. For example, if you're developing a certain application, we have to think about that how the design of that application would be created, and the hardware consideration and development consideration and the deployment consideration. I'm very much specific with the AI based application, but I guess that in a lot of other application, the consideration challenges and criteria would be very much similar. Even if you, for example, if you are developing a mobile application, you also need to consider certain things, for example, design, hardware deployment, and development. So when we were talking about the API related to the related to the AI, actually API and AI is very much similar. So sometimes rather than saying the AI, I speak automatically API. So please forgive me. So actually, so when we are design thinking related to the AI and with API consideration, we have to think about that how much scaling, availability, and performance is needed. Scaling means how easily we can extend or expand our application infrastructure from a single computer to multiple computer. How can we easily increase the memory, the CPU, computational power, and so many things. So this is our design thinking. The hardware thinking, does our AI application needs on a certain time, or it's always required, or we need to spend once and pay whenever we need. And there's also a consideration that we have to scale in the start or scale on the later stage. In future, we will discuss also. And the last and development thing, that do we develop that our AI application locally or using cloud infrastructure, which is very, very easy to be used, or we can easily move from the local AI system development to the cloud-based system development. On the other hand, now talk about the deployment. For example, the main area, or you can say the UI of an AI-based application is its power to predict your data based on the previous training. So now we have a certain things, for example, that how we will deploy our prediction model or endpoint. We call it endpoint on a local computer, on a cloud, and anything else. Now, there are certain things we have to be considered. For example, if the application is a very computational intensive, we need to be train a lot of data, heavy things, type of things. So now we can go to the containerized API, for example, SageMaker. For example, if I'm thinking that I have a very large AI application which has to train different sort of models or retrain model several times in a week on demand or whenever I need. So in this environment, I might consider some API infrastructure like SageMaker on the Amazon that provide me some computational resources, or Docker or containers. I hope you understand a bit about Docker and containers. If you are not, don't worry, we will also start learning such things. On the other hand, the training part of the artificial intelligence application is a very computational intensive. But on the other hand, when we come to the prediction part, inference engine or the endpoint, it is a lightweight processing. At this model, I will think that I will deploy or develop the API consideration for my AI, where Lambda function and the alert monitoring API could be used. In this environment, I will try to deploy or consider API that is easy to scale. For example, sometimes I need more people that are consuming my AI endpoint. So I would increase my instance or number of endpoints. And when the people are not as much as I require, so I will decrease the instance. Here, my requirement would be changed on the prediction environment, prediction point of view, rather than the training point of view. And sometime for the examples, the user interaction, if my AI system needs to work with the constantly user interactions, I might start helping other API. This is my approach. Some artificial intelligence developer may consider to design their own user interface, but I will better work with the other application. For example, an application is already exist even in PHP. I'll try to provide my API to that PHP application, or consume the API of that PHP application to access the data. Using this API based approach, I does not need to be recreate or redesign the user interface. So these are certain scenarios related to my understanding regarding how the AI could work in the serverless and API things. I have already added some certain scenarios, but I'll discuss you later on. Let's proceed to Sir Syed back. So
I'm just disconnect the screen. I'll share the screen, my screen.
Okay. So I hope, sir, everything is clear in this my approach for the AI and API integration.
Yes, yes. So therefore, what I want to finish off, Anis, today the API economy presentation. I want us to basically start TypeScript development from the next class. Therefore, I'm going to go over the class. We have crossed the 2-hour limit, but we are going to go over the limit to basically finish off this class and start TypeScript for development from next class.
Okay.
And as I was saying, I already mentioned that that APIs are very essential for basically insulating blockchain complexity from the other developers in the team. But there is another way, which there is a new concept called oracles. What is this oracle? In the smart contract, for example, I need the share price, the latest share price of a company. What is the latest share price? If the smart contract wants to find out the latest price, there are APIs now being developed, which are called oracles, which are the source of truth. Oracles are basically the source of truth. Blockchains are great at immutable storage and deterministic verifiable computation. However, they cannot access trusted real-world information available outside their network. There's a new core protocol being developed. BAND protocol is a cross-chain data oracle platform that aggregates and connects real-world data and APIs to smart contracts. Therefore, if I want to have the latest stock price of Microsoft, we are going to use the Oracle APIs, which implement the BAND protocol. And everybody can develop their own oracles. So therefore, which is also, Oracle is just another kind of API which makes sure that the data is correct and up to date and trustworthy. And the smart contract will call that API. So therefore, we are using API in the last slide to isolate blockchain complexity as well as get data for smart contracts by using the APIs. Now we have already discussed that, but we are going to revise it. The serverless APIs, which is Cloud 2.0. Ideally, the developer who uses API, Alina, you raised your hand. Please go ahead and ask the question.
I said that was by mistake.
Okay, sorry. It was by mistake. Ideally, the developer who uses API wants to be charged on a usage-based subscription fee, not a fixed monthly subscription with limits. Nobody wants that. This usage-based subscription fee has been made possible by serverless cloud technologies. Because we are going to use Lambda functions, we are going to use serverless databases, and the idea is that whatever we want serverless APIs. What are the different standards for API definition? Raza, you raised your hand. Yes, go ahead.
Sir, serverless means what you will pay what you use.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Now, what are the different standards? Yes, Bazar, what's your question?
सर मेरा जो अभी पीछे एक क्वेश्चन क्या था, सर्वरलेस जो एपीआई है उनका क्या मतलब है कि वो सर्वर के मतलब किसी सर्वर के बगैर होंगी एपीआई, मतलब जैसे
Let me go back to the previous slide. Because this is not a serverless, we are just going to introduce serverless. The thing is, most people understand that, of course, if you think about APIs, it's nothing but a server. If you think about it, what is the API? It is a server-based application which is running, which you are asking questions and you're learning. But serverless is a new concept, which basically means, it doesn't mean there are no servers. What it means is the servers are managed by the cloud providers like AWS and Azure and Google. Yes, Mazhar.
Okay, thank you. Understand.
Therefore, the point is, by serverless means they are managed by the cloud provider. We don't have to worry about scalability. We don't have to worry about downtime, anything else.
Okay.
And they are charged on a per unit basis, on the usage basis. Therefore, in developing the APIs, we use the serverless technology and make it unlimited scalable and only get charged for what we used. Yes, Mazhar?
Yes, thanks. Understand.
Okay. Standards for API definition. For REST APIs, there's a new standard called Open API, and this is the winner standard. We are going to cover this in this class. While this is a REST-based API, the REST is popular, regarded as the standard way to join APIs. GraphQL is increasingly touted as a revolution technology capable of trumping REST weaknesses. So we are going to cover, yes, Mazhar.
Sir, what is Open API? I know server API.
Because this is a new, this used to be called Swagger. Now it has become an international standard. REST APIs, we are going to cover all this. This is an advanced topic, but you can Google it. There's a standard for defining the APIs, which is called Open APIs. And the other one is GraphQL. So therefore, at this stage, you just remember two names: REST-based Open API standard and GraphQL standard. We are going to use these two standards to learn how to define APIs.
Okay.
What's in it for us? I want all of you to develop APIs, become billionaires. If Elon Musk can do it, why can't we? Up to this point, we had the problem. We did not have the resources to create a network, to create the data center, to hire a lot of developers. Now all this problem is solved by the APIs, cloud-based APIs. If you are still poor 2 years hence in 2023, it just means that you are not a hard worker. That's it. It provides us a way to make a lot of money, but using our specialization and using the knowledge we have. We are going to learn this in this class. And we are going to also teach you in the end of the class the platform for the economy. But in the meanwhile, till the platform is developed, what we are going to do is basically first try to develop the platform ourselves to understand everything. Because if Panacloud is going to do everything, you are not going to learn anything. So therefore, from the next class, we are going to cover TypeScript for the book is already there. We are going to start covering chapter 1. We are going to develop a to-do application. The prerequisite for the developers who are running this course is that they already know development. So therefore, we are going to cover that. I have developed a small to-do application which is in the code directory, in TypeScript directory on the repository. We are going to start covering that in the next class. Anis and Shah Rukh are going to do the development. I am going to just sit around and eat while they are developing. I am going to stop sharing. Any questions before the Anis and Shah Rukh basically will end this class, but any questions? I think
I have a question regarding IoT clouds. For the hardware development point of view, if we are going to have 1 trillion devices, then in the current cloud technology, where almost all the providers have different set of standards and different set of tools unique to their own infrastructure. So is there a chance that there's going to be a standardization of cloud standards so that hardware developers will find it seem easy to migrate from one platform to another, or easy to migrate their data and their application level things at different cloud providers. So do you see a chance, or we have to select a technology provider like AWS or Azure based on our understanding and bet on its success?
Yeah, very good question, actually. As I already told you, this is going to be a big fight. AWS thinks correctly. They are far ahead of all the other people. Therefore, they say we don't need standards. It's Microsoft all over again. AWS is the new Microsoft. So therefore, it is going to be a big fight. Right now, I'm betting that AWS is going to win it and Azure is going to come in second. And because we have to make a bet, as you mentioned, so we are betting on AWS. But if we understand the concepts, if we understand, for example, API development, what we understand, Lambda functions, event-driven programming, so therefore it will apply to most of the cloud providers, because all of them are going towards serverless.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Sir,
Any other question?
Sir, my question is that in this bootcamp, will we learn the development of AI, blockchain, and quantum computing? IoT?
Yes, not in depth, but we will try to, because it's a huge thing, undertaking, but we will play with it to some extent.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Sir, I have a question regarding the serverless and Kubernetes. Can you explain?
That's also a very good question. When I started, the thing is, when I started, I decided that I am not going to go towards AWS, but I thought it will take 4 or 5 years. I thought, and correctly, that Kubernetes, at that time, it was a correct decision. Kubernetes is going to win the battle. Then COVID happened. Kubernetes still might win the battle, but the cloud proved itself to be invaluable, especially AWS and Azure and Google. Therefore, it is a between, and they were little bit, Kubernetes group were a little bit left behind. At this stage, I do not have a choice. The market, 30 to 50% of the companies have moved to AWS. Therefore, I don't have a choice of not knowing AWS. So that is the dilemma, Bilal.
Thank you, sir.
COVID, blame the COVID-19. And the second thing is I want to add here, Kubernetes is very management extensive, and getting people who are able to manage it is very good for large companies. They can hire Kubernetes as specialists, but small companies, startups don't have the bandwidth to do it. Serverless is very easy compared to Kubernetes.
Sir, I have a question. Like a banking sector and the transaction sector, they can rely on AWS on the personal data of the people, or they can develop a hybrid cloud with Kubernetes and some kind of services.
Yes, you're correct. There will be a hybrid. Actually, there will be multi-cloud and hybrid cloud. People will be using the best service provided by a particular provider as well as Kubernetes. But that is the two, serverless and Kubernetes are the future. Anybody else? Questions? Shahrukh, would you like to add anything?
So at this moment, I would say that so learning API is the now mandatory for everyone, because without it we cannot survive. The market is for survival for the fittest. At this moment of time, to be a part of an API is a mandatory part. So we, no matter whatever field we belong, whatever the domain we goes in, API is a part. Whether we go to AI, whether we go to IoT, whether we go to e-commerce, whatever we go, learning or knowing about the API, how they are used, how to use the API to whatever the product you have, is the best way to survive in this current era.
Anish bhai?
Yes, sir. From my point of view, it's very much same with the Shah Rukh and you, that whatever field or even non-IT discipline like electrical engineering, electronics engineering, and even mastering in business, this is the API. API is a new programming, new language, and new communication. So without it, life is very tough. That's it.
I know some people might say, I don't want to learn APIs. My reply is, basically you are saying you don't want to learn server development. Nowadays, server development is microservices, and microservices are APIs. Therefore, as Shahrukh and Anish said, there you don't have an option. Either you just become a front-end developer. By just being a front-end developer, you don't know nothing about AI, you know nothing about IoT, you know nothing, you just are doing UI. And most of the junior developers in this world are basically UI developers. But if you want to make a lot of money and become a senior developer, which is running a company and have your own startup, you will have to have the capability to develop APIs. And cloud-based APIs, because that is the future. Any question? Then we are going to close this class and meet next Saturday at 9:30. The Urdu section will be tomorrow at 9:30. Inam and Qasim and Shahrukh, what's Fahim are going to basically be taking the Urdu class on Sunday at 9:30. And we are going to meet you next Saturday at 9:30. Any questions before we leave? Thank you. And one last message. It should be our agreement with ourselves. We should promise ourselves, Shahrukh, Anish, and all the students. We are a small community. We are not going to be poor 2 years from now. Anybody with less than $1 million is poor in this new world. And we are going to be millionaires in cryptocurrency around the world. That's going to take over the world. But it's going to be a lot of hard work. And this is going to be very beneficial for our own country, Pakistan, and for humanity. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.